So, after watching that video, one of the things that I was talking about at the end of it was that people that have these right-wing ideologies, when they're making their arguments, they never actually make an argument. They just repeat talking points over and over and over again. And this isn't just something that you see with um, conservatives or with Republicans. You see this with alt-righters, with Nazis, with white supremacists. You even see this with libertarians, which, in my experience, a lot of the time are white nationalists. Um, and they do a lot of the same things. Like, libertarians tend to believe that there should be absolutely no regulations on firearms whatsoever, and they always just throw out shall not be infringed at any person that's advocating for anything um, that even resembles some sort of common sense regulation on firearms. They just shall not be infringed, and then cross their arms and walk away, feeling like they've won the conversation. Despite the fact that in that same in the same amendment that they're referencing at the very beginning of it, um, um, talks about regulation, about a well-regulated militia being necessary for the existence of a free state. The right to bear arms shall not be infringed. I'm paraphrasing a little bit there, but that's what the Second Amendment says essentially. But they only hold on to that second part because it confirms their worldview. And libertarians, to me, are particularly frustrating because they view everything through the lens of government bad, um, without really explaining to themselves or to other people why government is bad. Your daughter's watching you. Oh well, hi Dana. Hi, how you doing? But they develop a worldview that government is bad because of one aspect of their life or one aspect of government regulation that they view as bad. For some of them, it is, like I was saying earlier, firearm regulation. And because the government is the one that does that, and they view firearm regulation as bad, then that means anything that government does is bad. That means environmental regulation is bad. That means economic regulation is bad. And they start developing these worldviews that confirm that, like, free market capitalism is the only way to go, and anything other than that is communism and it's bad. And then they just get themselves into these echo chambers where they um, join other people that have similar worldviews that are just as unsupported, because they arrived at that worldview through one particular aspect, be it marijuana regulation or firearm regulation or environmental regulation or economic regulation. One aspect of that ideology is confirmed to them, and then they base their entire worldview around that. And then they think government is bad and needs to be dismantled, needs to be done away with, needs to be reduced in power so much that it's completely ineffectual. And that's how the Nazis and the white supremacists and the white nationalists slink in there. Because people that believe that government is bad and want to get rid of regulation, they call themselves libertarians. I'm repeating myself. White nationalists and Nazis and white supremacists know that their ideology, the label that's associated with it, has bad PR. So they need to adopt a new one that doesn't have bad PR. And most people, when you hear the phrase, I'm a libertarian, they'll be like, oh, you're just a right-winger that really doesn't like any sort of government. That's not a bad thing. You're wrong, I disagree with you, but you're not evil. And so the Nazis and the white supremacists and the white nationalists, they slink on in there and adopt the label of libertarian for utilitarian purposes and for good PR. Because if they can say, I'm just a libertarian, I think government is bad and we should do away with it or make it weaker, you're not viewed as scum of the earth. But if you say you're a Nazi, you are. But the problem is the Nazis slink in there because they think that it's the Jews that are running our government and that are destroying white society, though they'll refer to it as Western society. But the Nazis go in there with the thought process of, well, these people want to get rid of the government, and it's the Jews that run the government. So if we get rid of the government, then that means we'll get rid of the Jews. And then we can put in our own government that will exclude them. The white nationalists do the same damn thing. But instead of the Jews, it's the dirty brown people that are coming in from over the border. The non-white immigrants that are coming to this country and are destroying it with their degeneracy and their lack of Western values, whatever the fuck those are. And it's the government that's doing it. So once the government is gone, then they can put in their white ethno-state. And a lot of them don't want to completely abolish government because you need that monopoly on violence to be able to institute their ethno-state, to institute their ideology into society. And without that, they don't have the ability to do that. Without that monopoly on violence, without law enforcement, without a military to enforce their ass backwards worldview, they wouldn't be able to actually assert themselves into a position of dominance in society. So they don't want to do away with government completely. They just want to reduce it. Maybe bring it down to a state level and have the states run their local governments and have no taxes taken out that went to the federal government, and so that they can prioritize it in their small area, get rid of the national military and have it only on a state level. And then they can move into the next state with their ideology, and take their guns and the people that wield those guns and use that to take the next state, and then the next one, and then the next one, and all the surrounding states, and slowly that cancer grows and spreads out of middle America and reaches the coast. And suddenly, the beautiful country that we have today, despite all of its problems, I still love this country, and I still want what's best for it. The country that we know and love today suddenly becomes a white ethno-state, and there's no place in it for black people, for brown people, for non-Christian people, for Jewish people. They get rid of them. How's it going, Harry Madison 357? Welcome to the stream. But that's at least as far as I've been able to gather with my interactions with them online. That's what I've been observing as far as the libertarian movement and the infiltration of Nazi ideology and white supremacist ideology into a political party that is traditionally just libertarian. They're just conservatives who don't like taxes and don't like government. I'm good. What about you? I'm doing pretty fine. I'm just doing a little bit of a discussion right now, and then we'll move on to the next video, and we might play some video games afterwards. But thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I just wanted to get that off my chest because I've been talking to a bunch of them online. And there's some libertarians in my family. Now, I don't necessarily believe that they fall under the Nazi category or the white supremacists. I genuinely don't. I don't believe that they hold those ideologies. I think they're a little misguided in their political opinions, but it isn't coming from a position of hate. And in my opinion, if you disagree with me politically on economic policy or regulation, I may think you're wrong, but I'm not going to think you're a bad person because you're not doing it to hurt other people. You're not holding those views because you think a different group of people or a different section of humanity is somehow lesser and needs to be dealt with, like the white nationalists and white supremacists do with black and brown people, and like the Nazis do with anybody who's not white, but especially the Jews. But just because I don't think that they're a hateful person and that they're doing it to harm other people, it doesn't mean that they're wrong. There are people that I know personally that vehemently support Jo Jorgensen, despite that she's a national isolationist who wants to remove us from NATO, and they wants to remove us from the UN, wants to do away with the FDA, the EPA, is supporting a fracking, which is terrible for the environment, and wants to get rid of just about every single regulation that our government has. Some of them I disagree with. The majority of them I think are very important, and the fact that they've been stripped away so much over the last 4 years is terrible, and is causing one, causing a lot of problems for our country and our environment now, but are going to be devastating in the future. But yeah, that's just something I wanted to get off my chest and wanted to talk about the ideologies of libertarianism and the people that are infiltrating that.